that insight throughout our news. Now we have a breaking news. A Greenland government has announced an increased military presence in and around the island, emphasizing that the move is aimed at strengthening NATO's footprint in the Arctic and enhancing European and transatlantic security. Officials said the purpose of the deployments and ongoing exercises is to train forces to operate under the unique Arctic conditions while ensuring readiness in a strategically important region. The Danish armed forces, in close cooperation with NATO allies, will continue their Arctic exercises, highlighting the collaborative defense posture. Greenland's government has stressed that the measures are defensive and part of broader efforts to maintain stability in the Arctic, a region of growing geopolitical significance due to its natural sources and strategic shipping routes. Now for this breaking news, we welcome Ms. Alison Mutler. She's a former AP Bureau Chief in Romania, joins us live from Bucharest. Thank you very much, Ms. Alison, for joining us once again. Good to see you. Now that tensions and of course the situation is escalating, how do you analyze this current readiness or countermeasures by the NATO with minus US and of course the Greenland in Greenland by the towards defense for themselves versus US? Yes.
Well, I think the world, America included, was quite surprised by Donald Trump's statements. They weren't totally unexpected, but he was very forceful in saying the US needed Greenland for security. It wasn't even a question of discussion or negotiations. And I think Europe was alarmed at first. You could see by the statements made by the Danish Prime Minister and other leading officials in Europe. And now I think that Denmark and NATO, minus the US, as your report said, want to take back control, not of Greenland, but of this story, of this narrative that this is a strategic island and it's important for NATO defense. So what they are doing by staging these exercises, which they underline are defensive, is showing they are being responsible for the security situation and they're taking it seriously. So Donald Trump can't say, this island is undefended, we need it, we're going to take it. So they're trying to behave responsibly, but also constructively by holding these defensive exercises. Obviously, they've been staged in a very short time. Normally, exercises like this, there's weeks or if not months in the planning. But we are living in unprecedented times, and the statements by Donald Trump have caused alarm both sides of the Atlantic, particularly in Europe. So these exercises is both a political statement that NATO members, especially led by Denmark, are taking control of the territory. They are showing that they are concerned about security and its strategic position. And it's a kind of riposte to Donald Trump to show him that, yes, we're in control here. We have everything under control. And, there is no need for any outside intervention.
Do you think they will be able to continue this stance? Do you think they will be able to balance this out?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
It very much depends on what Donald Trump's aims are and the aims of his administration. If he really does want to wants more control over Greenland, then we can expect more statements, and eventually there will be negotiations and discussions. Because I really don't think the US is going to intervene militarily in Greenland. I think that would be rather a haphazard thing to do, and it would not particularly benefit Donald Trump or Greenland or Denmark or NATO. But I think now the ball is in Donald Trump's court. How will he respond to these exercises? How will he say, I think he said yesterday, I'm going to take Greenland one way or the other. We have to see where his rhetoric goes. And we know from the past that sometimes what Donald Trump says doesn't necessarily come true. But then sometimes, in the case of Venezuela, he didn't make too many announcements, and then there was that spectacular, from a tactical point of view anyway, capture of Nicolas Maduro. So now the ball is in Donald Trump's court, and we have to see how serious he is about getting control of Greenland. That's the thing we'll be waiting for next.
So what do you think, it's very ironic, yes, like you rightfully mentioned that he was very quiet about Venezuela and then a big move. And then so many other things, he's very loud and then no action. So do you think a lot of countries are now taking his statements about Greenland, they're taking it so serious because what happened on the 3rd January towards Nicolas Maduro?
Absolutely. I think it's the fact that his statements on Greenland came so shortly after the capture of Nicolas Maduro, that US military intervention, that the countries were forced to take this seriously. And it's not the first time Donald Trump has mentioned his strategic interest in Greenland. He mentioned it in his first term and before. But the fact that it came after this spectacular operation in Venezuela, that they were forced to take it seriously. And he didn't just say it once, he kept repeating it in various different ways. We're going to get it. He was saying that the Russians and the Chinese were in submarines around the island. I don't think that's necessarily true, but it's possible they have interest in that area. They'd be silly not to. But I think NATO allies were forced to take this seriously, particularly Denmark, because it directly affects the country over which they have, I think, foreign and security policy. They are in charge of Greenland. So yes, of course, they had to take it seriously. But again, with Donald Trump, you never know. You have to see how it plays out, what his plans are.
With that, I would like to thank Ms. Alison Mutler for joining us today and sharing that insight on this breaking news. Now we move on to US and Venezuela.